All right, everyone, we're back once again. And we always say that because for some reason you guys want us to come back over and over again. But we have a special guest today. And you can see her on the screen right now. It's NFL Network's senior national columnist who can be seen on the Insiders weeknights at 7 p.m. Of course, that's Judy Battista. Judy, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Well, we were very excited that you could come on and talk New York Football Giants because that's what we do here.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to get out there.
Oh, so that's right. You're going to be going out to camp this weekend. So right. We just came back from camp. It was an interesting day because when you're standing or sitting on the bleachers or standing on the sidelines, Giant fans right now are living and dying with almost every pass of Jackson Dart. It is to the point that I no longer say he's dropping dimes. I say he's dropping quarters because I don't want to switch back to what we had before. But the expectations, or sometimes the over expectations, is what concerns me. For in your opinion, with Jackson Dart right now, what is the best case scenario for him? Because the pressure on him right now is paramount.
Well, I think the best case scenario for him, and I mean for the Giants in general, is that he does not play this year, right? I mean, they said this literally from draft night when they made the move back into the first round to take him, was they did not want him to play. They want him to sit and learn. Their ideal scenario is that Russell Wilson is the quarterback. And obviously the really ideal scenario is that Russell Wilson is the quarterback and he's playing well and the team is winning games. And so there's no reason to ever even think about a quarterback change. I mean, we'll see if that pans out, but I think that would be ideal for Jackson Dart too, because certainly the feeling was when he was coming out of school that he still had, quite a learning curve. Now I think Daboll's been high on him. Like he's praised him, at least during minicamp. He seemed more excited about him than you usually hear Daboll sound around players.
A little bit. It's right? Almost, I find it funny because it's kind of in reverse. It's almost like when you watch him at camp that Brian Daboll's Jackson Dart's puppy, because they're always together. I mean, they're not more than 2 feet away from each other,
which is great. That's why you have Daboll there to develop a quarterback. So, but I do think ideally everything is going so well this season that you wouldn't even have to think about making a quarterback change. Now, things rarely work out in the NFL perfectly. I mean, for any team, not just the Giants, like things go haywire. We know that. I think the next best scenario, if he has to get on the field, is, late in the season. And then they would at least get to see what they've got, and what they're working with. But I think patience is going to be required. And I think this season is probably going to be a test of their patience because the schedule is very, very hard. And so even if the team is improved, and I think the team is improved, I think the roster is improved, they may not win a ton of games, right? I mean, they may not be a 12-win team. And so I think then that's going to be a real test of their commitment to wanting him to be on the bench learning.
Russell Wilson, of course, came over from Pittsburgh. A lot of Giant fans have the excitement of Russell Wilson, and I'm a little bit more apprehensive because of the fact that if you take a look at Russell Wilson's body of work after that 400-yard performance against the Bengals, which at that last year was the worst defense in the league, he kind of dropped down a little bit in play. He didn't throw for over more than 200 yards, I think, in one game. His last game of the season, they lost that game to Cincinnati, and he only threw for 151 yards. But the Giant fan expectation is we're going to get 26-year-old Russell Wilson from Seattle. What version? I think it's going to be Pittsburgh Russell Wilson, maybe a year older, but nowhere near what he used to be. What is your expectations? What do you think Russell Wilson can be for this Giant offense? And what should we realistically as fans expect?
Well, listen, I think if you get the Russell Wilson from those first few games, that first month after they made the change in Pittsburgh, you remember we were saying like, wow, because at first when Tomlin made the switch from Justin Fields, they were winning games and you thought, why are you doing this? Yeah. This is crazy. What are you doing? And then Russ played pretty well, right? They wanted to push the ball down the field. They felt they needed to get more explosive plays. And he did that. And so you were like, oh, okay, Mike Tomlin, not surprisingly, knows exactly what he's looking at. And then his play tailed off. Frankly, the play of the entire team tailed off in the last few weeks of the season. So if you get the Russell Wilson that Pittsburgh had in that first month after they made the quarterback switch, that would be pretty good. I do think under any scenario, you're going to get steadier quarterback play, headier quarterback play, more confidence. And that's something everybody wanted Daniel Jones to succeed, but I think there was a lack of confidence there at the end as the struggles mounted, and you could feel it. And I think his teammates could feel it. Russell Wilson is confident, right? I mean, this is somebody who's been in the league a long time, won a Super Bowl. He's a confident, upbeat presence. You see it every day when he's with fans and with reporters. So I think he will bring that. And I think improved quarterback play. I think the roster around him is better. We'll see if the offensive line, once Andrew Thomas comes back, I mean, that's obviously a huge factor. I think the offense will function better. Is it? I mean, it's not 26-year-old Russell Wilson. That's not coming back. It's not Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson. But I do think it can be better quarterback play than they had last year.
Giant fans are we are so yearning for a win that when we first signed Russell Wilson, I was over on Twitter and someone posted Russell Wilson highlights. And I was like, wow, that's great. Then I looked down and I said, that's Will Wolfork. I'm like, that's Russell Wilson's rookie season.
Right.
I don't think we're going that far back.
I mean, listen, only Tom Brady played better as he got older. That just does not happen Aaron Rodgers is the same thing, right? That's just not the trajectory for quarterback play. But again, it can be better quarterback play than you've had recently here. And that's what they're looking for.
Well, I'll take somewhere between Tom Brady and George Blanda. So if we're going to go age that way, I mean, I'll take that away from Russell Wilson. You mentioned the offensive line. Outside of going out and getting Bo, who is probably going to be hopefully not a starter, but potentially a swing tackle. The Giants really haven't moved the needle outside of Chris Hubbard and a few other people. And in my opinion, in improving the offensive line enough to protect Russell Wilson, because I've said this millions of times on our podcast, the Giants in my mind are one injury and 5 interceptions away from seeing Jackson Dart in week 3. And I think that concerns some fans. Do you see an improvement in Andrew Thomas right now is on the PUP.
Right.
It's
hard to evaluate. If he's not on the field, it's very hard to evaluate.
It's going to be difficult to evaluate. Right. But in your opinion, if Andrew Thomas does start the season, has Joe Shane done enough for that offensive line? Because one of the biggest issues that Daniel Jones had was protection. And his inability to read the field completely and actually pull the trigger, for a few other things, but it really was the amount of time that we gave him to throw. And I just get concerned. You have a 36-year-old Russell Wilson that if we don't give him at least 4 seconds, we may kind of be in the same boat.
Well, certainly the mandate is going to be get the ball out, right? Like you cannot hold the ball in the way that, frankly, Russell Wilson has in the past, right? Because he loves the bomb and he's great, that moon ball, but obviously that takes a little time to develop. So certainly the mandate is going to be get the ball out to your, wide receivers, just get it out. I think it's hard to evaluate where the offensive line is. Last year was, obviously Andrew Thomas got hurt, and so that messes up everything. We've got to see how Evan Neal do the guard job. Is that going to work? What will Andrew Thomas be 100% when he comes back? Will everything be okay there? Then I think we will get a fuller picture of what it's going to be. I would just say this, watching the league in general, like offensive line play, like there are very few teams that don't have real concerns about their offensive line. And that goes for the Kansas City Chiefs too. Like every team, it looks at their offensive line and goes like, is everything okay? So I think the Giants in that case are in the same boat. When I said headier quarterback play, yes, Russell Wilson likes to throw the ball deep down the field. And so he holds the ball and he's not going to be able to do that. And he certainly doesn't move the way Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson used to move. But I do think he will be heady and he won't want to get hit, and they will get him to unload the ball. I mean, he's going to have to, because otherwise, as you said, like you're one hit away from, having to put Jackson Dart on the field well before they want to put him on the field.
You mentioned Evan Neal, and to me, it's a big surprise that Evan Neal out of Alabama took that serendipitous fall, that he just didn't seem to play well at that right tackle position. I know when he came into the league, he had discussed he would rather be a left tackle. Who wouldn't? You want to get left tackle money. I mean, I would rather be a left tackle right now. But are you surprised that the product that we saw at Alabama has really kind of disappointed, and this move to guard, it almost seems like an Eric Flowers type situation, who did not make that move to guard with the Giants? He had to go over to Washington and do it. But are you surprised that the way, all the pomp and circumstance that he had, taking 7th overall, that he really hasn't panned out for the Giants?
I don't know.
That's a good answer. I like that.
I don't know. Listen, I think the jump to the NFL for even the best prospects coming out of the best programs can be difficult. It's a huge difference. You are facing elite pass rushers all the time. And I think even the best players in college can sometimes get by just on their sheer physical ability, right? They are so much better than so many of the opponents they are facing, especially the guys who go to Alabama, right? I mean, they are the best high school players in the country, land in Alabama. And so then when they're playing, and I don't mean to pick on like Vanderbilt, but when they're playing Vanderbilt, you're not facing the very, very top pass rushers. And so I think when you get to the NFL, they are facing the best of the best every down. And I think that's the true test. I mean, I think he tried. I don't think it was ever a lack of effort. And I also would point to somebody like Mekhi Becton at the Jets, who had sort of a similar trajectory, right? Like didn't pan out where they wanted him to pan out as a tackle, moved to guard, switched teams, went to Philadelphia, and so got a fresh start. And I'm sure that was part of it, and was great, like has just completely revitalized his career. So that happens. You hope for Evan Neal's sake that it works out at guard, because you would hate for his career to go completely away. Again, I think he's tried. I don't think it's a lack of effort.
No, I don't.
And frankly, from the Giants' perspective, they need this to work. They need this to work.
I think in some regards, Shane needs it to work more, because if you take a look at that first draft class, which was supposed to be the fundamental building block draft class, there is a potential that next year, no one for that draft class could even be on this team still. And I believe he had 12 picks, and Evan Neal, of course, was 7. You have Kayvon Thibodeau at 5. And Brian Daboll, who won Coach of the Year a few years back, he was 7-2. But then we always point out he was 7-2, then 2-5-1 in that same season. It was a dichotomy of 2 seasons. And then he goes 6-11, then he goes 3-14. Brian Daboll came in at the, with Joe Shane's blessing. And, that was Joe Shane's guy. And as you watch these two in their career, it's hopefully moving in the right direction this year. But do you think that their futures are tied at the hip? Or do you think there's a scenario, let's say if the Giants, we spoke to Carl Banks the other day, and Carl Banks said, everything's great right now, but this could be different in November. We don't know what's going to happen in November with Daboll. But do you see a scenario where, there's that they're kind of tied at the hip, that they may both have to go at the same time? Or do you see a scenario where one stays over the other?
I don't think they are joined at the hip, or at least that's what we kept hearing last year during the season, when you were starting to wonder, are they going to have to make a move? And then obviously John Mara ultimately decided they were not going to make a move. But at that point, we kept hearing they're not tied. So it doesn't have to be both stay or both go. They could be separated. I would agree with Carl, who obviously knows much more than I do, or any of us. We have no idea how the season is going to play out. You have no idea what circumstances are going to happen, and who's going to get hurt, and what things are going to look like. Right now, you're right. Things look promising, more promising, because you've got a young quarterback, and that always brings excitement and optimism. And you hired Brian Daboll for just this scenario, right? To select his quarterback and then mold that quarterback, right? Develop that quarterback. That's what he does. That's why he was hired. So you hope that this pans out. I would say I can't imagine that everything stays status quo if they only win 3 games again this year. And again, the schedule is not going to do them any favors. The schedule is really, really tough, especially the first half. The way it's laid out is extremely tough. They have a very late bye on top of it. So it's a very tough schedule. They're going to get tested. Again, if they only win 3 games, it is hard for me to imagine that they, say like, oh yeah, we're going to run this back again.
To your point, the schedule, the Giants could literally be out of playoff contention after the first 6 weeks. Even
though they're a better team, like they could be a much better team and still not be winning a whole lot of games because the schedule is just murder. So,
speaking of quarterback injuries, though, Justin Fields went down today with a toe injury. Of course, he signed the 2-year contract with the Jets to be the next Jet quarterback until the next Jet quarterback. We could say that because we're Giant fans, but literally, like I said, you could see how important this position is and how it can change the entire landscape. I know it's a Jet question though, but it's a toe. We don't know the full update yet. Of course, if you're if you're passing, it's a little difficult to push off or to step into your throws if you have a hurt toe. How confident right now do you think the Jets are with Tyrod Taylor, knowing that Justin Fields?
I mean, Aaron Glenn came out and immediately. First of all, let's do the update. What we know about Justin Fields' toe. First of all, it's not the big toe, which is the most important one for planting and all of that. Okay. It's also not. It doesn't appear to be broken, dislocated. So I think they are breathing a gigantic sigh of relief in Florham Park today, and the expectation is that he will be ready for week one of the regular season. Now, obviously, that's not great because he's going to miss all this practice time, and he's a new quarterback, and it's a whole new system, and so you would like him to be on the field with everybody. Having said that, it is much better than when you first hear he's being carted off the field on the second day of training camp. You think like, oh my gosh. So I think they dodged a bullet. We'll see. I think they're confident in Tyrod Taylor, and we'll see what happens. But there's no question. I mean, the line between everything is okay and complete disaster on most teams is that fine? Is like, what does the MRI show for a starting quarterback? Let's not kid ourselves. If Patrick Mahomes goes down, it ain't going to be good in Kansas City either, right? Like, no matter what your setup is and how good your organization is, you probably can't survive the loss of a starting quarterback. It's extremely rare to see a team be okay.
We always like to give a guest that comes on a final thought, a moment to. It doesn't have to be about the Giants. It doesn't have to be about football. I'm putting you on the spot here. It doesn't have to be about how wonderful my hair is, but you can't. People are going to be upset because of the fact that I'm 57 years old and I have a full, beautiful head of hair and blue eyes. And I told people I'm going to try to audition right now for the NFL Network. I know it's not going to happen, so you don't have to talk about me, but you could literally just have any point about anything. It doesn't have to be about the Giants, doesn't have to be about the NFL. We just like always someone to have that last final thought that we can kind of take for the rest of the day.
Wow, that's a big one. I would say, like, be excited. Don't let yourself get too down about things that happen on the football field. Like, the world is a tough place. Just enjoy the games, enjoy the excitement, enjoy being a fan, and don't let yourself get too wrapped up in the minutia and the day-to-day things that go wrong. Like, it's a really cool game. It's a whole lot of fun to cheer for whatever your team is, not just the Giants, whoever. Just enjoy it and use it as an escape from all of the rest of the world.
I think that's one of the best ones that we have had in quite a long time. We're here with Judy Battista, an NFL Network senior national columnist who can be seen on the Insider's weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. NFL Network also provides live coverage back together weekend this Saturday and Sunday and daily editions of Inside Training Camp, which airs July 28th to August 6th. Judy, it was a pleasure to have you on. I can't wait to see you over at Giant Camp and giving us all that detailed information that we know, because you know what, I think you're fantastic, and thanks. We are very excited for you to be around the Giant organization this year.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to being out there. I'm out there on Sunday with my colleague Mike Garafolo. That'll be my first look at training camp this year, so I'm psyched.
All right, Judy, appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.